Welcome to the Next Level Casino Careers Show, a series highlighting industry tips and insights from the best minds in the casino and hospitality industry. Enjoy the show.
Kenji Hall, welcome. So glad to have you today.
Thanks for having me on, Serena. I'm honored to be on this and to have you as my partner in crime today.
Thank you. For those of you listening or tuning in, watching, Kenji Hall is the Chief Operating Officer for the casino. He's also currently overseeing our property marketing division at Yaamava Resort and Casino at San Manuel. And I'm very honored to speak with you today, Kenji, as well. You bring over 30 years of experience in hotel, hospitality, and casino and gaming. I love it. So excited.
I've been doing this for a long time. So this is the one job that I started at and have kind of loved it the whole time. So it's not so much of a job when you love what you do.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. So Kenji, I could totally read your bio and share with our audience a little bit about you, but instead of me doing so, can you share your upbringing, your origin story, and where you are currently in your career?
Sure. I'll go through the whole professional component, but I'll do it in the Cliff Notes version because it's been a lot of places along the way. So I grew up, I was born and bred in Las Vegas. I grew up out there, home of entertainment and hospitality. So I kind of, was built into that role. It felt like it was a natural component there. I started 30 some odd years ago. It's been a long time when I was a teenager working at the Sands Hotel before it became the Venetian, got torn down, all that stuff there. But I was working there at the tennis shop. I was a tennis player growing up, and I had a guy there named George McCall who was kind enough to employ me and trust me with the shop, and that was my first look into hospitality. From there, I worked at the Flamingo Hilton. I joke about the job at Flamingo because I worked in a thing called the brochure room. And for all of the younger people that are watching, they're like, what are these brochures that you speak of? We didn't have the internet to go look for stuff. You couldn't find out anything about the property or what different packages were going out there. So my job was to send out all these brochures to travel agents across the country and internationally, to travel agencies, to the trade shows that were going, what we would send our salespeople to help them push what the Flamingo Hilton was back in the day. I think, reported to the mailroom. That's how far down the list I was. But worked my way up at that property for 6 years, and then had the opportunity to open the MGM in Las Vegas, which was just a great component of learning by fire. I think when you talk about opening the largest hotel in the world, in the hotel division, it was the biggest challenge that I had to overcome, with some of the shortfalls and some great lessons to be learned there. And from there, I left to go and try out some different things to get a little bit better at what I did. Every move that I made was to gain a little bit more knowledge. And when you work at the hotel, at the largest hotel, you really only work at the hotel. You don't get a chance to learn a lot of the other components within the hospitality industry. So I went and worked at Northwest Indiana for what was then Trump Hotel and Casino, and was the director of hotel there for a few years. Got involved a little bit on the gaming side, on the food and beverage side. So I got a little bit more broader learning there. And then from there, I left gaming for about 3 years. I left gaming and worked for a company called the Adams Mark in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I found out that just wasn't for me. I like the action of gaming. It was just a nice convention property. It was weird running 65% occupancy and that being okay. And so I left there and went to work for Boyd Gaming out in Louisiana, in Shreveport. Great 6 years there, learned a lot. Again, continued broadening my career, learning more about different aspects of hospitality. Was lucky enough to get a job and work my way to the assistant general manager job at Prim Valley on the Nevada-California border for a few years. Got my hands in on the gaming side of the business, where I really started to flourish and enjoy. And then a little over 5 years ago, landed here at Yaamava Resort and Casino. Then it was San Manuel at the time, and just hung on for dear life at this roller coaster. It moves so fast here, unlike any other place I've ever been. But for all of the places that I've been, I finally feel like I found the home that I want to be at forever. when my career ends, I hope it's always at this location.
Same. I totally 100% agree. So for myself growing up, I don't know if I've shared this with you. I used to want to be an attorney. I grew up first generation here. I'm East Indian. Parents instill in you education, education, education. Got to make a good check, right? And so for the longest, I wanted to do that. And then when I was in community college, I interfaced with someone that was a probation officer and actually worked at San Quentin. And so I shifted gears and I started my career off in probation because of that. Did some volunteer work that really helped me get in and really know that that was a good fit for me. So I know that you started off with hotel jobs and such, but what made you shift from wanting to be a tennis professional to stay really sticking with hotel hospitality and now gaming? What made you stay grounded in the industry and not shift ever and go back?
That's a good find, by the way. Yeah, I think when I was a kid and I played tennis, I thought that I could be a pro tennis player like any kid, and pro baseball player when I was a kid too. Who knows? You have all these lofty expectations. And I was lucky enough to get to college playing tennis. But I think what I recognized early on was that there is a difference sometimes between your level of athleticism versus some that are a little bit better than you. And growing up in Las Vegas and every other year facing Andre Agassi occasionally, you learn that you are not Andre Agassi and that's something that's probably not going to happen in your lifetime. And so when I got to school, I really decided I needed to understand the role of what school was, actually learn in there as opposed to just try and coast through and play tennis while I was there. And after a few years, I recognized that I couldn't do both. I couldn't commit all that time to tennis and as well as to school. And I was working full time at that time as well. So I needed to focus on something. I transitioned. I was at UNLV and transitioned to the hospitality program, which is probably one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world, and learned for some great professors in there and really kind of drove this love of hospitality. I had a professor named Vince Eade who essentially changed me from being an engineering major to a hospitality major because of the way he taught it, because of how he made it, it sounded what it feels like for me. And I knew I found a home in it. And then working at some great properties along the way just solidified that. And I figured this is my thing. This is what I'm going to be doing. Found out I was pretty good at it. So I've continued on through all these years and I've just loved every minute of it.
Nice. And what in those early jobs, those hotel jobs, was there any specific conversations that you had with anyone within that environment, or anything specifically that you did that just resonated with you the most?
Yeah, those early jobs, it feels like I just had to grind it out for a long time and had to work really hard to get where I wanted to get to. I think that one of the areas that I always talk about how to succeed in it is to learn all the time. And when I was in these positions, I would be doing my job to the best of my ability, but I'd also be trying to understand the whole and understanding what other departments did that affected my department and how I could help them as well. Because I knew if I could help them do better, then it would help me do better as well. And so one of those components in my early years is I literally tried to learn every aspect of the hotel side of the business. I would go up and work housekeeping on a day off just to work with the housekeepers to understand what they were doing. Had conversations with the front services staff and valet and the facilities team so that I would learn about how their jobs interacted with mine and understanding that, look, you're just a cog in the big wheel, but if you figure out how the big wheel works, then everyone can roll together a lot smoother.
Yeah, that's something that I love about you. I can just tell that watching you interact with team members, just how devoted you are to learning processes and really understanding and then sharing your knowledge. And I think that's huge and impactful for those individuals as well. So I transitioned from government to healthcare, now to casino hospitality. And I think that something that was important for my success was just the skills that I transferred with me, right? You went from hotel, hospitality to your current role. What has been pivotal to your success and followed you? And can you compare and contrast differences of being a leader in those industries?
I think that, what I will go back, and I think when you talk about you going from healthcare to hospitality, even though they're completely different, how you lead people should stay relatively the same if you treat people the right way. I think that's the first key that I always talk about when I talk about team member engagement, that you need to have practice kindness and gratitude. That's really what two of the things I talked about it. I think I did a 3 tips video earlier on team member engagement. And I talk about kindness and gratitude. And I think if you can provide that, have a team first attitude, that's going to help you be a leader for any group that you're going to be choosing to be over. You don't have to just be in one field to be a leader in a business there. But the other thing is you have to learn too. You have to understand, you have to gain knowledge, you have to be willing to ask questions. Even in my role, I don't know all the answers of what happens in slots or table games, or for that matter, anywhere on the property. I have to ask them, because they are my experts now in some of those areas, to go, how do you do this? Or what does that mean, so that you can teach me to make me better as well, so that I can be a better leader for you.
Right.
And I think that's a key component to how to be a leader. The transitional part, again, the differences are very minor. It's, of how you do different jobs and what the focuses are, but still when it comes down to it, the jobs between hotel and hospitality, food, beverage, and the casino ops team is very similar. We're still here to service the guests. We're still here to treat each other well and kindly. We're still here to work together as a team. And my job is always going to be still to help develop and coach and bring them up, so that way that everyone can continue to progress in the organization.
Right. And build that best in class experience for all, from team members, guests, for the tribe, everyone. Right. So that's what it's all about. And that's what drives our passion. And I love it. So you did touch on the team member engagement. I was going to ask you about that. Can you speak to your role a little bit in team member engagement and how it's pivotal to our culture here?
Yeah, so team member engagement, it's just something I think that's been near and dear to me for a really long time. And, we have a team engagement task force here at Yaamava that has representatives from all the different departments. And our jobs are to figure out how to better the experience for our team members. And I thank you for taking time and volunteering into this as well. I think that support from you as well on the communications front definitely helps us out, but we need to have all different departments represented so we can get a good round view of what we're looking at, a 360-degree view of that.
Right.
I've learned that, like, when I talk about team member engagement and why I'm so passionate, it stems from a few things. One of those things it stems from is I've had bad bosses growing up in this industry too, as well. And I knew how it made me feel as a team member for that boss. And that wasn't a culture that I ever wanted to be a part of. And sometimes the best lessons you learn are the lessons of how not to do things.
Yep.
And so those are pieces that I said, okay, everywhere I go, my job is forever from those bad bosses to say, never create a culture like that. We're going to create a culture that is a little more, giving back to our team, to make sure that we understand that people are more important than profits. And that is something that, I'm happy to have a tribe that supports that here too, as well, that people are more important. And learning from a lot of early influences in my life about, hey, how to be compassionate towards people. I've had, when I was growing up as a kid, one of my childhood friends, his name is Boyd. He's older than me. He was like an uncle to me. Or the Wong family that I knew from Flagstaff, Arizona. They treated me with kindness and gratitude and made me feel like I was important, even though I was a kid with adults.
Right.
And those little things can just make such a huge difference in your life. And
Right.
I feel like everybody who comes to work here or anywhere doesn't deserve to not feel that kindness and gratitude, because they're here supporting the whole bigger picture, and they're here more than they are when they're with their family. So why not create an environment where people like to be, so they don't go home all grumpy and upset about the way their day went? Now,
And take it out on their family.
For sure. We're not 100% great at that all the time, but we're pretty good at it, and we have to continue to get better, which is why this engagement task force takes place. And the other thing that's really kind of what I've seen in my lifetime, at least, is I've coached as well. I've coached kids. I have 2 kids that play baseball and softball, and I learned how to, how to create that dynamic, and what good coaching and bad coaching looks like, the same from other experiences that you have in athletics, from my former coaches how good and bad they could have been and what I could do to be better. And I've learned that, hey, the goal is never just the win, is what I've said with kids athletics. It's about getting towards a bigger goal and creating good human beings. And how do you do that along the way? And there's a lot of tactics that you have to go there, but you can't do it without being kind, without being grateful, without having a team first attitude. Yes, I'm the coach, but you know what? When I used to have this thing that we talked about, that the form of punishment we used to call was minutes of pain. And we'd have these, if for every mistake the team would make over a weekend, we'd all have to add another minute to this really bad workout. It's like a CrossFit workout type thing. But the thing is I was going to compete in that too, because their mistakes are my mistakes. If they made a mistake, it's not just them that made the mistake. It's because I probably coached them wrong on how to do it the right way as well. I bear responsibility, and you could see that kind of created just a better environment. And I take that and bring it into what I do now. And the goal is to always create that kind of environment where, look, we're not going to take ourselves too seriously. We're going to have a good time doing what we're going to do, but we are still going to go towards a greater goal.
No, I think that's one thing that I've even mentioned to my husband that I love about you, and just the dynamic here with leadership is just the ability to feel valued and know that even if you don't 100% know something, or you're trying something new, that it's okay to make mistakes. You'll get feedback, you'll get honest feedback, and it'll help you grow in the process. And I think that's something that's huge, no matter where you are in your career, is just having the opportunity to maybe fail and to learn from it. Right. So I love that. And I love that culture that we have, and you don't find it everywhere. And sometimes you do learn from not the most ideal situations on how to do things better. I think we've all had experiences that could have been better. Right. But that's how we grow.
Yeah, I think there's a Michael Jordan's quoted something about how many shots he's missed, how many game-winning shots he's missed, and all of those things, and talks about how he's failed over and over in his life, and that's the reason why he succeeds.
Right,
is because of those failures, and we have to make mistakes. We have to understand that people will make mistakes, and then we have to coach them to be better, and so that we don't repeat some of those same traits. But you want your team to keep trying. That's the key. You don't want us to curb that ability to grow.
And you want them to feel valued always as well.
Absolutely.
No matter if they're having their best day or their worst day. So you mentioned that you've had individuals that have been a great influence to you. Is there anybody, you mentioned when you were younger, how about as you've been in your career, has there been a mentor or someone who's had an impact on your career and your growth and your development?
Yeah. So, I think that I still go back to my mom and dad, and the lessons that I learned growing up, they still apply today. And my mom is one that she's a drive to succeed type of person. And she wanted me to be the best that I could be all the time. And she still does to this day. And I credit her for that. And for my work ethic are things that she's helped me develop, which are things that I can continue to push for all through my life. I think throughout my business life, I always talk about that. And my dad was always about the guy who was compassionate towards others, and show that compassion and the ability to take chances. He was never afraid to take business chances, even though he failed on different occasions along the way. He was always wanted to take the chance to do better.
Never gave up.
And guess what? I'm still here. And that's the part where we go, okay, this is how you kind of, work through. That's what the lessons that we're taught. But, and as I've gotten older, different mentors have come across the way. I'm proud to call Peter Arceo, our general manager, one of my mentors, whether he knows it or not. And it's probably because, for me, as you said at the beginning of the intro, I'm overseeing property marketing. I've been doing that for a year and a half, almost 2 years now, without a lot of the experiences behind me in marketing. And so I've learned by fire along the way. He's allowed me to make mistakes. He's helped coach me to do these things to hey, you should be looking at it this way. And I feel like I've learned a ton on that side from him, because guess what? He's allowed me the opportunity to fail. He's allowed me to take chances and say, this is what I think we should do. And those are growth opportunities for me. And so that's always important. I think that in any job that you have that. And my former boss, Stuart Ritchie, was great about, hey, I'm going to that's when we decided we were going to help each other out when we were at Prim. And he's like, hey, I want you to give up hospitality because I'm weak at that. And I want you to take over gaming because that's something that I think you can be better at. And those are, again, components of someone who's looking out for you, and we can help each other and create a bigger future as a teammate. And I still talk to him to this day about different things in the industry. If I have questions about ways things are getting handled, if I need help. And so having those kinds of people in your life are important. But not only is just having a mentor, I think mentoring folks as well is important. And sometimes I learn more from being a mentor of others, or to be a coach for others, because then you remind yourself of the things that you should be doing sometimes. And
so when you're mentoring others, do you go out and look for someone or see something in somebody that makes you stand out, or have people come and sought you to mentor them?
It's kind of a variety of things there, right? So I have some folks that have come along and have asked me for help and advice, and but I obviously want to find people who can connect with me well, because the first and most important thing is I need someone to be driven to succeed. I don't want to mentor someone who doesn't want to take the time and do the work. Whether it's a student I had a student recently at the Victor Valley College that was there, and how do we get them further down the road? And but I've also mentored other folks that have just been leaders at our own property. And sometimes it's through programs that we do. So here at Yaamava, we have, or this is through the tribal side, through San Manuel, we have this thing called the TACP course, and it's a master's level certification course there for a certificate program that we teach them about some of the great tribal laws. And I know you've been through this as well, as well as leadership courses. And I like to show up to those meetings to talk to people, to give them my belief on what leadership should be at this level. And I gain experience, knowledge, value by seeing them and watching them grow, and reminding myself of the things that they're talking about in class, as well as I gain some value from them because they can come to me and ask me questions, and I can help broaden my horizons with the team here as well. We have a really large team. I wish I knew every team member personally, and this is an easy way to kind of branch out and get to know some of these future leaders.
No, definitely. I did take that class, and I think something that was very beneficial was just networking. We're a huge organization. There's people in my class that I didn't know before, but now I stay connected with. And I also know those people valued when leadership showed up and asked questions and challenged them, because that's how you grow. That's how you think outside the box, right? And take things to the next level. So yeah.
For sure. Just for them to get out and speak sometimes in these presentations in front of me, and they always tell me afterwards how intimidating it was. And I feel bad because it shouldn't be intimidating in front of me. I don't think I'm that intimidating, but even you and I have this discussion, when we talk about the podcast, I'm equally as nervous about making bad faces or saying the wrong thing as maybe you are. And I think that's part of the learning is that, look, we all have our vulnerabilities. We all have strengths and weaknesses that we continue to try and get better at. The fact that we all work at getting better at it is what makes us better.
And I think that's like what's helped me is, I don't know if this is true for you as well, go outside my comfort zone, is just the support, the level of support here. And just that, I feel like it's an extension of my family, right? The jokes, the encouragement, just everything all bundled in one really helps you go outside of what is natural and do the things that are super uncomfortable, just because you know that no matter what, your team has your back. So. Yeah,
I think that there's been many places that I've worked that have taken themselves a little too seriously at times, but a lot of the places, the last several that I've been able to be lucky to call, my friends now at some of these other properties, we've been able to have fun while we're doing it. We aren't taking ourselves too seriously. And that's part about, I think, just reminding yourself that you're just another one of the team. Right. And I try to remind people of that. And people will come up and someone came up the other day and they're introducing me to someone in their family, and they're like, "This is our big boss." And I'm like, "I'm not the big boss. I'm just your teammate. Like, I am here. Yeah, technically I am your boss, but I am just another human being just like you. And I have a family just like you. And guess what? We're all trying to get through this. I've just done it a lot longer than you have. And one day you'll be in this spot,
be the big boss.
and don't want to be the big boss because there's going to be someone calling you that, right? and I think there is something to be said for that kind of humility that I think needs to be had too as well. Um, we all do fun things and do stupid things at times, and guess what? That's part of who it is there. Like, I'm sure that if someone's got blooper reels from other conversations and things that I videoed, and
But we
occasionally
have
they
them.
show up at different
We have them.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they show up.
They show up at different times, and guess what? That's okay, because I'm not perfect, and
Right.
I'm still trying to be. And that's the goal, is to always continue to improve on that side. But let's do it the right way. Let's not do it where we're out there with an iron fist.
Yeah.
You know, if I couldn't come in here and joke with the people in these offices or my team or my boss, this would be a miserable place to be.
Yeah,
The
you wouldn't
fact
be
that I
yourself.
can, yeah, the
Yeah.
fact that I can make a joke in a management meeting about my boss, and have him literally laughing on
Laugh
the
with you.
floor, and then knowing that I'm going to get it back at some point in time,
Oh yeah.
that's
I love
okay,
that.
because you know what? It just adds a little bit of levity that, hey, we're still in it just like everyone else. But they see us working hard, but they also get to understand that we're normal humans too.
No, I totally agree. You have to have the fun. You have to be your true self, right? You don't want to be miserable. So I love the fact that we can do that here, and we have all the memories that we create in the process. And yeah,
Yep, you're right, Serena.
Serena. Speaking of growth and mentoring, Kenji, how do you spot potential in others? And as an employee, how can you stand out for potential career growth?
So I probably look at it in three different ways. One is, like, if, I think they have to ask for more. When you spot people with potential, you need people who want to do more. You want them to be forward enough to ask about it, and you have to create an environment where it's comfortable to do so too. So, one, ask for more. Two, step up when without being asked, right? So supervisor's away or manager's away, there's nobody to fill the void. Step up and do those things. Let's figure it out, right? I'm going to figure out how to do this job. I'm going to make sure that it's seamless. I'm not going to have to go, it's easy to sit back and watch it fail if you wanted to. But if you step up and go into these roles, that's what makes you a differentiator. And I talked to one of my table game supervisors today, and he stepped up in the absence of his manager at one point in time. Or actually, he wasn't the supervisor, he was a lead, and he got promoted into the supervisor role 6 months after that, because we saw him step up into that role. We saw that he was fully capable of doing that. And so when the position opened up, we knew that was most likely our candidate, because we've seen him do the work. And Jesse's been fantastic at that job since then. And so that's another step on that. And the other thing that kind of helps me identify people is that, I want to make sure that I look at people who treat others well. I think that, it's easy to treat people well up the chain.
Right. Yeah.
And there are people that do that, and they're the brown noses of the world. That's the easiest way for me to say it. And I don't appreciate those people, because if you don't treat people down the way as well as you treat people up, that's a problem. And always knowing that, hey, those are things that we look for. Walking the floor, saying hello to team members, picking up trash along the way. I think that hopefully you'll never see me or Peter walk the floor without picking something up and throwing it into a trash can.
I have to interject right here, because that was something on my first day. You all both walked the floor with me, and I was just, wow, like just how hands-on you all were getting in there, picking up things, just engaging with everyone. And you don't see that everywhere. Some properties you go to and you see nobody's picking up things at all, right? So it's just nice here that everyone gets involved at all levels, and we're team players. So yeah 100%.
We have one of the best EVS teams in the country, the environmental services team. And for as busy as we are, I still think we're the cleanest casino with the most business sometimes there. It baffled me when I came out 5 years ago, how good that was. They've continued, as we've grown more square footage, they continue to dominate in that side of the field. And I think part of it is it's an environment that we want to make sure that we create. And the other side is, I know how hard that job is. I've done that job for a day or two, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't know how they do this every day. And we have some ridiculously talented team members and just are hardworking. And for me to walk by a piece of trash is like looking at them and spitting on them. Like that is, you should never be doing that. You should be there to help them out because you have to understand how hard that is to do. You know, housekeeping jobs, steward jobs, EVS, they are some of the most difficult jobs in this industry. And in some cases, almost every industry. They're, especially as how much business as we do here, it's staggering how hard it can be sometimes to do those things and how much physical labor it takes to do that.
Oh, definitely. And they keep everything spick and span, sanitized, top notch here. So it takes a lot of work and it takes a village to keep it clean, right?
Absolutely. And
safe.
you know what? We're all part of that village, whether you're the GM, the COO, whether you're a dealer, whether you're a slot attendant, it doesn't matter. Your job is still to make sure that, hey, we want to take pride in this place, want to make sure it feels good. And that's a component, again, when I talk about team member engagement, being able to be prideful of what you're doing. If I can take pride in it and I can help make it sure it looks clean as well, then I'm trying to create that environment for our organization. I want our team to do the same thing too.
Yep, definitely. We spoke a little bit about growth. So for people that may not be aware, we here at Yaamava Resort and Casino at San Manuel, we recently went through some expansions. We have an expanded gaming floor, have our hotel and our entertainment center and our entertainment theater, excuse me.
Thanks.
And I know, Kenji, you've been a pivotal part throughout that whole process, the planning process to our grand openings. What has made all the growth possible and what are you most proud of?
Well, one, I don't know how much of the pivotal part I am there, but because I think I'm a cog in the wheel as well. This is it's a monster. We built another casino essentially while we ran one of the busiest casinos in the United States. And so it was an incredible team effort to get that done. And I think part of that is that we do think of ourselves in a team atmosphere, and that helps contribute to the growth. But if I had to pick a few reasons why the growth has been possible, at least over the 5+ years that I've been here, you know, I can narrow it down to probably 4 things. One, I think, is strategy, right? We've created a strategy along the way. We really work hard on continuing that process. We don't think about our success, our business, what we want to do, our goals in small increments. You know, we do a strategy session, as you know, we do a strategy session for the year. We do it for the 2 to 3 years, and we do it the 3+ years as well. And we want to have a plan for how we're going to get to all of these different areas. I've used this quote as like, you know, having a goal without strategy is like wishing on a star, right? If you don't have a strategy behind it, it's just like wishing on a star and say, man, I hope we do great. And then that's it. That's all you get. There's, you know, sometimes you can luck into it, but most of the time divine intervention doesn't happen and you don't ever make that goal. So I think that is, again, a key component to why we continue to grow, how we've been able to succeed. The second one is just being focused and making sure that you pay attention to what you need to pay attention to. And focus means prioritizing tougher things to do, prioritizing the right things to do along the way. I think focus, again, people can sometimes start working really hard on things that don't matter. Yeah. And we have to continue to try and push that away and say, look, these are trivial. These aren't the things that we need to be working on. There are certain things that are more important. We take care of those first, and then we can work our way backwards into some of the other areas. 3, being agile is one that I always say is important, I think, for our growth. Is, again, as big as we are, it's like trying to turn the Titanic we have to turn it with, rowboat precision sometimes there. It's really difficult to turn this thing, but I think that we do a great job about being agile. And I think when I go back and I look at how we were able to handle COVID and how we're able to come back from COVID and continually change and have the whole team rally behind these changes along the way. Okay, we started out with every machine at 6 feet, and that was the process where we started out at. So we couldn't put every other game; it had to be a 6-foot component there. So then we recalibrated parts of the floor so we could have more 6 feet areas. We could have to remove some tables to put different slots in. And the whole team rallied around these things to do that. And then months later, it's okay. We're going to go to every other slot machine now. And so then it's okay. Got to turn one off, turn one on, turn one. Like all of these things about being agile is the reason we were successful, because we could do this with a group of people that were just like, we're going to get it done. We're going to do it quickly. We're going to finish the whole floor in a couple of days. And you're like, there's no way you're going to get done in a couple of days. And sure enough, that team would just roll through it. And then it was, we're going to build this expansion. And at the same time, all of these things about how do we be agile, we're doing all of these at the same time. And redoing a floor. We're renovating a floor while we're doing this too. So, I talk about how the SWAT team was insane about doing that, but it takes, again, all the other departments to be able to do that when we're doing that with their construction crews, with our IT team, with surveillance, with facilities, with, it just takes an army of people to be agile enough to do that. And there's not many places I know that could have done it in the time frame that we did it. And then finally, I think that the other reason that we made growth possible is I think we are continuing to improve our culture. The tribe has created a great basis for what we've done and who we are. And it's our job as leaders of this resort to be able to go, okay, how do we create a culture for success that pushing forward? How do we create a culture for growth for our team members? And how do we create a culture of engagement as well, so that we take care of our people right? We have so much of the backing of the tribe, and they're willing to, again, people over profits. They paid everyone through COVID for the 3 months.
Yeah.
That's, again, the staggering amount of money that they did for that is part of where you go, okay, this is just important. It's impressive. And when we opened up more conservatively than anyone else, with more rules than anyone else, with more safety precautions than anyone else. We got our GBAC certification. We're the only one in California that could get that. All of these things that they talk about, that was about, hey, we want to take care of our people. We want to take care of our guests. That's the most important thing. Not about concerned about the mad dash for making profit over that piece of it. We want to make sure that we take care of the people who come visit here, the people who are on their land, and they're willing to let us do those things. And that culture, I think, continues to be one of the reasons that I think that we are one of the great places to work. Again, second year running, we were in the great places to work. It's fantastic, and we're going to continue to get better. And the fact that we have a team that's dedicated towards team member engagement, and every department has a group of people dedicated towards their department's engagement, is why I think that we continue to grow.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it's just the tribe and their dedication to the community, and we're part of that community, right? And looking ahead and thinking forward, I think that's pivotal to success, pivotal to making people feel comfortable, feeling secure, and wanting to work here. So we've been successful in that avenue, and continue to remain successful even past COVID. So.
Yeah, the tribe is, the fact that, when we're looking at our strategy sessions and we're going 7 to 10 years out, trying to, lay some groundwork further out, they're looking 7 generations out. And that's where you go, okay, that's just big. Yeah. And it's also, for me, it makes it feel like I have a lot of responsibility too, right? I'm not just trying to make a shareholder happy. I'm here to help with a tribe, with a sovereign
make a lasting difference. Yeah.
And so I feel like at least my contribution is to something bigger than myself. And if there's anything that I think that's more satisfying, that I'm not sure what it is, when you get to be able to make those kinds of contributions there.
Yeah, that's huge. Speaking about contributions, future, potential, if you're looking ahead, where do you see the most potential, and what gets you excited when you think about the future?
Wow, there's a lot of things that I probably can't talk about on this podcast today, but I think innovation in general is something that I'm very excited about, on how we can make things better for our team, make things better for our guests. And I think that there was an article posted on the Next Level Careers site that I encourage you to take a look at, that is about Rich LeBaron, who is a superstar in our IT team, and his team is phenomenal when it comes to how do we work the innovation process. And he talked about, the idea is only a quarter of the way there. The ability to get to the finish line is where all the work is. And so we're very, cognizant of making sure that innovation works right. Too often people put out things and technologies out there that aren't quite ready. And we try and take a slow approach. And sometimes it feels like, hey, you're not at the cutting edge. Well, we may not be right on the cutting edge, but when you get our product and when you come try our stuff there, or you see our innovation at work, it works properly. We're going to roll it out slow, but we're going to roll it out the right way. And so things that are coming in the innovation circle that are out there it's going to be something else. And again, I'm so excited about all the things that are coming. And I know there's some long roadmaps along the way for these things, but I'll tell you what, when we have a team like we have there to help us down this process with, Rich and the rest of the IT team that Tony's put together, it's something that you look at and you go, okay, we've got a really bright future on that side to make things even better for all.
Yeah, we have a great team. So much things to look forward to. Of course, yeah, we can't spill the beans on some of them, but lots of exciting things happening. I'm going to shift gears a little bit, Kenji. We're going to go to our next segment of the show, which is the big picture. I'm going to show you these pictures, and I want you to give the audience a little more light on what's going on. And we have some that may be listening only and not be able to see the pictures. So I'll kind of try to talk through it.
Well, this is fun here. Look at us. No wonder you have this photo. I know exactly when this was here.
Yeah, so, I think it was this year, right?
It was just Universal a couple of days ago.
I think they're Universal Studios in the back, and there's yourself and a few of your favorite people.
Absolutely. So, every year we have some employee appreciation days here at Yaamava and for the tribe as well, and the tribe and tribal government. And so it allows us to have all of our team and their dependents and significant others to be able to go to wherever they vote to go to. This year's vote went to Universal Studios. And so we had 2 different days where we had everyone out at the park. Some of my favorite days. So I got to, we have a table where we support to get them the tickets, some food credits, and then we have wristbands for after hours. So what happens is we get the park, just us, after the park closes for about 3 hours.
And that's when you get on the rides, because there's like no wait.
Yes, it's so fantastic. But for me, it's being able to get to see, team members out of context, out of their uniforms, and get to see their families and get a chance to say hello to them and thank them for what their persons contribute. It's a great event for us. It's a super fun perk that we have here that we pick this out every year. But for me, it's just, again, getting to see our team members, getting to enjoy a day and getting to see their families as well. So one of my favorite things here every year to look forward to.
So confession, it was my first one. I've been here for about 3 years. I've heard a lot about it because of COVID kind of got delayed from being able to I didn't go last year. We had it last year, but I couldn't go. It was amazing. My kids loved it. It was their first time at Universal, got on all the rides. I have 7-year-old twins and they just ate it all up. And then for the second day I volunteered, and you're right, just seeing everyone, outside of work, laughing, smiling with their families and just putting names with faces. It was just great, like as far as their family goes. And then the after hours is amazing that the organization does that for all the team members, because it really lets you enjoy the park and get on everything without the lines and takes pictures with your team members, friends. And it was just a fun experience overall.
Yeah. I don't know what the number of total attendees was, but it was over 15,000 over the 2 days there that we had there. And so that's, again, just another one of those when you talk about people over profits is, the tribe is, they allow us to do these kinds of things and say, yes, let's do something fun for our team. We do it on 2 different days. So that way we can hopefully get people on one day off or the other, so that they have a chance to get there with their families. It's always one of my favorite days.
No, it's awesome because we do a lot here on property. We have like our high five events, our all thrill events, and some other things that maybe we'll get to in a second. But this is nice outside of work. So I love it. And thank you for sharing a little bit. So we're going to go to the next picture.
Oh, geez.
Are you doing a Roger Rabbit? What's going on?
Might be a Running Man. I'm not sure what it is. I think we were in the middle of a dance off. So this picture, this is a great one here. This picture is of Peter Arceo, our general manager here, and myself. And typically 3 to 4 times a year, we have all team meetings that we have. It's called the Hakupa Eye now is what it is. It's where we get to at least communicate a lot of the things that have been happening throughout the year and helping, again, for me, it's about building this alignment towards a common goal. And when we talk about coaching, when I talked about that earlier, it's about finding that common goal and getting people towards the common goal. But it's also about celebrating too, and celebrating the successes of teams and what they've done throughout this time frame. Yeah, we had a dance off, I think.
I remember it.
I think by the looks of this, I'm winning this dance off. But again, one of those, one of these, one of the things that, again, when we talk about, hey, who are we as a team? Who are we as leaders? These are things that I think are important. That, hey, look, we're in front of the entire group. We're going to tell everyone about what's going on, and guess what? We're still going to have fun doing it. And I'm sure that my running man had a lot of work to do. When you see the old man running man, it's not nearly as cool as when you see it on the World of Dance. So this was not the World of Dance, but a fun day nonetheless. Usually our all team meetings, what I love about them is it's, again, that whole gathering of your groups all together. You get to pass on a message. In most cases, there's some really cool things that we show. We show some of the highlights in the year. You get to see what the team members have been doing. We have food trucks that are there. Yeah. They get free food from the food trucks. I think we have In-N-Out trucks. The lobster. What was that there, Serena?
Is it the lobster burrito or the sushi burrito?
There's a sushi burrito. There's a lobster truck. There's it's fantastic. There's ice cream trucks, and there's all kinds of food out
In-N-Out.
Yeah, the In-N-Out one is always a favorite. They can't keep up with us there. But again, just a great little area to interact and talk, and after we speak for the event and for the meeting, we go outside and we're out there by the food trucks, and you get a chance to one-on-one talk to any of the team members. They can come up and talk to us. I hope they do all the time and not scared of running around. I think that we've kind of proven that along the way, that we're willing to talk to anybody who wants to when we're walking the floor. But just fun event. I love doing these.
No, and another thing that I appreciate about this event was, we're 24/7 operation, and we really make sure that we are having this event all day. We're having the informational sessions all throughout the day, so that all shifts and all team members can partake.
Yeah, multiple meetings throughout the day, morning, noon, at night, whatever you want to call it. We try to make sure that every shift has the ability to attend. It makes for some long days, but again,
it's worth it.
It's absolutely worth it.
Totally worth it. All right, last picture. This one I don't have much context, so you're going to have to tell me what's going on.
This is you did a good job finding photos here. So this is at Zion National Park. It's kind of one of the places that I always go to feel centered. Hiking is something that our family does quite a bit of there, and this is, I think, at Weeping Rock is where this spot is. But we've gone to Zion for several years. This is me and my family here, and my kids have grown up doing hikes and going out and doing things, and it's just an area where I get to kind of hang out and be with them too, out of their normal roles now that they're older. It's kind of fun to be able to go on a hike with them and gives you a chance for some quiet and some time to talk about stuff, about life in general. You go through that time when they're teenagers and they don't want to tell you a whole lot about what's going on. They've grown out of that, and now they're starting in their own careers, and you get to talk to them about that. Zion, some of my favorite hikes are in this park here. There's one that's just off the corner of this. It's called Observation Point, which looks down over Angel's Landing. It's a pretty long hike. It's about an 8-miler. But it's so nice to be able to just be up there and just kind of be at peace. And then there's another one on the other side called Observation. It's Observation Point on the other side. I forget. Overlook is what it is. Observation Point's one, Overlook's the other. And Overlook's a nice, quick, easy hike. And I've seen so many sunsets there with a beverage and just kind of hanging out there and being at peace with nature. But
sure, you get beautiful pictures too. Yeah.
And again, one of those things that when you talk about prioritization in our industry, this industry is tough. If you're in this industry, you can kiss your weekends, your holidays goodbye for the most part in the casino industry, and at least in the operations side of it. And so getting these times are important to do that. And as wearing as sometimes, like I make the most out of a day off if I can, because it's worth it. And, Red Rock in Vegas is another place we go and hike. And I've had some of the best conversations with my family there. And, my daughter, when she was in college, came back for winter break, and we went up there with a ball and a glove and threw from one plateau to the other plateau, played catch. She was a softball player, and but just were able to just talk about life and talk about college and her struggles that she's going through. And you don't get those kind of opportunities when you're sitting at home as much. I think it takes them out of their comfort zone. So it's something that for us as a family kind of helps heal our souls. And I hope that anyone who has something, they have something that's not sitting at home. Sometimes it is playing video games with your kids, but it's something that you do with them to help kind of bring that little extra conversation. Because when it all comes down to it, all of this that we work for isn't about us.
It's for future generations.
For our future, it's for our kids and where they go. These are the people who have to suffer through the long days and long nights when you're working your way in this industry. But they make it all worth it too. So
no, definitely. And I think what I was going to say was, everybody talks work-life balance, and I think no matter where I've worked, I haven't always worked in casino hospitality. As I mentioned, I haven't always worked in operations that are 24/7, but I think no matter what industry you're in, you get caught up with just the hustle and bustle of everyday life. And instead of trying to find that work-life balance per se, for me, I think it's just being intentional with my time. If I'm at home and I'm doing something with the kids and, maybe I was at work late that day, just putting my phone away and disconnecting from everything, giving them my undivided attention, right? Or just being intentional with the time I have with them on the weekend, getting out, doing some of the things that they love that I may not be able to do during the week. So I think that you're right. It is just making sure you carve out that time. And sometimes it's a hike, sometimes it's a vacation, whatever it may be. Sometimes it may be going to a ball game, whatever it is, just making sure that you're spending that quality time.
Yeah. And I think that you've now, again, maybe not in other jobs that you've been, but I know I've seen you here on late nights working as well. And it's just,
I just love y'all so much, Kenji.
Yeah. I think it's a sacrifice that we know we have to make along the way. And if you're, in the operations side of the career, or as you work your way up, you can't expect to just have 9 to 5 every day. If you want to continue to progress in this, there are times that you're going to need to put in more time. That's just a fact of it. I'm not saying that, hey, you should just talk about just work and don't do anything else. I've done that at some places that I've worked. I was miserable.
Yeah.
My time when I was in Indiana, I worked way too much, and I missed out on 3 years of my kids growing up. And it was not the workplace that I would have wanted to be in. Because I think I missed out too much there.
Right.
It was a sacrifice that maybe wasn't as necessary as it should have been. But again, I think that's where you have to find that place. And I think that we provide that place here with a medium of, hey, look, we know that there's going to be some long days, and we're expecting long days during that time. But we also know that you need to have some time off. We have some incredible time off benefits here. And I think that, hey, we want to make sure that you do that. And again, while we were low on team members and trying to get through this pandemic, it was tough to get people days off that they wanted to do that. And I appreciate all the sacrifice that these team members made to keep us going. And now that we're getting closer to full staff there, again, we're always still hiring, it feels like, but we're a lot closer to full staff now. That's like, okay, let's take advantage of this time.
Let's take a breath, go on vacation.
Use the time if you can, and try and do those things, because
they're important.
Yeah, it's important.
Okay, Kenji, I'm going to ask you some random questions. I only have a little bit before we wrap it up.
All right.
Favorite
random
guilty
question
pleasure.
time. Let's go.
Question time. Favorite guilty pleasure.
Oh, boy. I have a lot of guilty pleasures, probably. I'm going to go with, I have a hard time not binge watching stuff on TV, and I will binge watch several shows, but I find myself, if I'm talking about a true guilty pleasure, I find myself watching like teen type younger people stuff. So I feel young. Like I just watched the Umbrella Academy, and I don't think that the Umbrella Academy was meant for people my age. But those are guilty pleasures. The regular pleasures like wine and steak and that stuff, that's just
Concerts,
regular pleasure. But
sports.
something I'm guilty of, it's probably that, or I'm gonna go with that for now.
What was the last thing you binge watched?
Yeah, it was the Umbrella Academy. I just
Oh,
finished
was
that
it?
up there. I think the Only Murders in the Building was a Prime one too as well. I watched through that one, but I think that's not quite teen drama stuff there. I think Umbrella Academy, Stranger Things are for younger people, but I'm still considering myself younger.
I haven't watched either one of those. I think the only one that you had an impact on me binge watching was Squid Games.
Oh yeah, Squid Games.
I haven't gotten to Stranger Things or any of that yet. I'm sure I will. Okay, something I know we both love, concerts. How many concerts have you been to? I think you've outnumbered me on this one. And which one was your favorite?
Wow. Okay, so festivals might also be a guilty pleasure because,
yes,
again, I find myself one of the older people at the festival. Happy that both of my kids still go to. At least there's one in Vegas that I go to every year. I'll be there again this year for Life is Beautiful.
Jealous. I'm so jealous.
But yeah, my kids will still go there. We call it judgment-free zone, so that we can all go out and have a good time. And they're kind enough to at least hang with me every so often for a few guys. But I've seen a ton of concerts.
Too many to count.
Yeah, it's definitely in the way over the hundreds. I might be getting close to 4 digits. I feel like over this time.
My gosh!
I've seen a lot of things, a lot of acts, a lot of places.
Oh wow! Yeah, I'm not even close.
Best one, the favorite one is tough. I can't say it's the first one because I barely remember it. But the first one was Elvis, by the way. My mom took me to see Elvis back in a long time ago. So that
was that the one you went? Who'd you go to that one with?
My mom and my sister.
I heard the story. Okay,
and she took us up on stage, and Elvis carried me around. That's my claim to. That's my one glimpse of stardom there. A huge U2 fan, so seeing them live, Joshua Tree tour was great, and seeing them also for the Joshua Tree out here at the Rose Bowl was great. But if I had to pick one that was the best of all time, the one that's coming to my mind right now was Elton John, Eric Clapton, back to back at Dodger Stadium. I think it was 1992.
At Dodger Stadium. Nice.
So my favorite place in the world. Two of my favorite guys that are out there played in this incredibly long show. Just full of emotion at that time. That's gotta be near the top, and the other one would be I saw Sting open for the Grateful Dead, and so that duo was pretty phenomenal there.
That sounds awesome.
Those are on the list, but again, countless shows. I love music. I love live music. It's again one of those things you got to have some outlets somewhere to do, and when you work, it's good to do.
And I know another one of your favorite things is sports.
Yes.
We share I love basketball. You love basketball, football, baseball, but we only have two of the same teams, the Dodgers and the Raiders.
Yes.
Because for basketball, I'm Clippers, and I think you're the Suns.
I'm the Suns. I'm the Suns on basketball. Yes, the Knights on hockey, but definitely Dodgers and Raiders.
So for Raiders, Super Bowl.
Ooh, boy, that's tough.
10
I
wins.
I don't know if we're good enough for the Super Bowl yet. I think playoffs are there. I think a 10-win season is definitely in order. That division just got really good this year, so I am a little worried about that. But I love them. Again, have the San Manuel Raider thing over my shoulder here. I'm happy that I don't get to choose the sponsors of who we have. I'm just putting that out there right now. I am not the one who chooses that, but the fact that we sponsor the Raiders, the fact that we sponsor the Knights in Vegas, and the fact that we sponsor the Dodgers are just really good pieces of the puzzle of why I should be here, I think.
Extra perk, right?
I feel good about our chances at a World Series, but I don't want to jinx it, so I'm going to just stay a little mum on that. There will be no guarantees coming out of this podcast.
All right, Kenji, 2 final questions.
Sure.
So one, if there's one bit of advice you could give your younger self, what would it be and why?
So one thing that I would do is the advice I would give myself is to make sure you take the time to not miss out on your life. And we just talked about those 3 years in Indiana. If I could take that back, I gained a lot of knowledge while I was there. I'm not going to deny that, and it's a part of who I am. But I missed out on 3 really good years of my kids' lives there. And the fact of the matter is, when I even in North Carolina, it was a little tough. Louisiana, I really got back in. Shreveport's a smaller area. I had a group of bosses that were willing to let me leave work and come back so I could catch games and do those things. Nice. And so loved that I was able to do that. And from a leadership role, I was still putting in a ton of hours, but I was able to do those things. I was able to coach my kids. And I think that if I had to tell my younger self something, it would be, let's be more efficient at what you're doing. Let's pick places to go. I would have probably said I should have come to San Manuel. It's another conversation I would have liked to have with myself a lot earlier in my career, because I think it marries to who I am culturally. It marries, the philanthropy things that they do for the community. Yeah. It marries to who I am, how we treat our team. Their values are things that I believe in. They're things that I live for, and they make me better as a human being. And so I would probably, that's the other thing I would tell myself too. Between those 2 things, how's that? I tell myself,
I love it.
Maybe the third would be like stock tips, but I'll hold off on lottery numbers, one of those.
No, I like both of those, because I always tell the kids, don't miss out. Don't get tied down in relationships or whatever is going on right now. Enjoy college, enjoy life, because you can't get that back, right? Just those times, those moments. And then same thing. I wish I moved to Southern California 10 years ago, and I wish I would have been here 10 years ago, because I found out about San Manuel while I was working at Loma Linda. Some of their donations that were made there, just their passion for the community. And that's something that resonates really well with me. And I love being here and just everything that we're about. So I would agree with 2.
Yeah, the philanthropy program that we built on with what that team does, and then how we've started to expand that, how Robin started to expand that program with team member philanthropy and matching donations and volunteer time off. I mean, those are really great things that allow us to do good things for the community too as team members. So makes that value so much better. Like if I donate $500, I know it's going to be 1,000.
Right.
The tribe's going to match what I donate. And that's just insane that they would do that for any team member that wants to do that.
Blessing. Huge blessing.
Yep.
All right. Final question. So this is Next Level Casino Careers. So I want you to leave the audience with 3 tips to take your career to that next level.
Okay. 3 tips. So first one I'm going to go with is just to keep learning. I think that regardless of how you want to do it, we talked about our boss, Peter, but going back to school for a second master's degree now. But I think that thirst for learning and knowledge is important, regardless of how. And I'm not suggesting that everyone goes back to school and goes get masters or doctorates, but there's a lot of different avenues on how to learn, whether it's through certificate programs, whether it's through reading books, whether it's through talking and getting a mentor, or whether it's just learning about different things in your own particular department or job. Those are things that I think are very important. I was talking to Victor, who is one of the kids that I was mentoring in college, and he was talking about his growth in his job. And I was like, keep learning about all these other jobs, because when promotions come available, you'll know how to fix some of these things because you've been working and learning about those things. And sure enough, he gets promoted shortly thereafter because he continued to drive and learn those things. I think that's one. So 2, crush the current job that you're in is the easiest way to say that. Like,
I like that.
Like there's this trend of like quiet quitting thing and whatever they talk about.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
And I don't believe in that to some degree. I do, but if you want to succeed, you need to do your job well. Right. And then also start working on doing the job that you want. So if you're a supervisor and you want to become the manager, let's figure out jobs that you can do to be the responsibilities, to have the responsibility of the managers. Ask your manager about, hey, can you teach me about these things? So you're prepared for that next role, because the hardest thing about going from a line level team member to a supervisor is that difference between the two. there's different responsibilities that you have. You're no longer the best at this job anymore. You could be the best line level team member, but you might not be a good supervisor if you don't understand what the role of the supervisor is.
Right.
And so you got to make sure you can understand that transition. And the third one is keep driving, right? You got to keep driving hard if you want to continue to succeed. I used to say this quote, and I don't know who else has said it. I'm still going to claim it as my own there, but it was, it's when you're convinced that you've reached your goal and your potential, then you have, because you stop driving to do more. So if you are convinced that the best I'm going to do is be assistant director of communications, guess what? I made my goal. I'm convinced this is as good as I'm going to be. Well, guess what? You won't be any better than that, because you just convince yourself of that. You have to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing your boundaries. You have to keep driving forward. I think that if you don't keep pushing yourself to go to the next, then you will stop moving. And sometimes, you know what, there is a point where you're not going to be comfortable about going to the next spot. And all I ask those people to do is to push to try and get there and see what it'll feel like. And then, you know what, then make the determination, but don't just give up because you think it might be too much. Like if I stop and go, I think the responsibility of the general manager is just too great. But guess what? I'm going to keep trying and thinking about it, right? If I just say that I want to do that, then I'll be in this role forever and never have a chance to move up. And my goal is not that. And so I continue to try, I continue to drive and try and learn new things. I wouldn't have taken on marketing if I didn't think that I needed that to become better, right? And I think that's part where I talk about with, again, Peter pushing others on our team. The good thing is that they have a lot of people that are very driven in this organization that want to continue moving up and continue learning. And those are things that are going to help you progress in your career, wherever you are, whether it's this organization or any other one. And if you're in another organization, keep learning. And if the organization you're at is going to stymie that, doesn't want you to learn or grow, then you might want to consider about where you're at. I think that's a key component too. When I was teaching at UNLV, I was an adjunct professor there. I used to joke about like a class. In class, you had to learn about front desk. I was teaching a front desk class, and they wanted you to teach in the syllabus about a manual system for check-in and key inventory. This is in the time when computers were taking over that component. And I told someone in that class, if you go in for an interview for a job and they're still doing that at their front desk, you need to just not take that job. You just do the interview out of courtesy and then don't accept the job, because that's not going to be someone who's progressive enough for what you want to be. You need to find a company that marries up to that will allow you to progress, will allow you to learn, and give you steps towards that piece.
Yeah, help you be creative and think outside the box.
And I guess I want to give a fourth tip: just be a good person, be a good human being. Yes. That's a good one there. I think there.
Yes. Sometimes people are so busy and they don't stop to do that.
And sometimes some of the best people in whatever field that they are just jerks. And you know what? People don't want to work for those people. People don't want to work with those people. And eventually that person will get stymied out. Yep. And to be a good leader, you have to have people follow you. And if you're a Richard, as I like to use as my terminology, use the acronym for that. If you are that, then people will not follow you and you won't get things done.
No.
And I know I'm running a little long, but when we opened the MGM in '93, there were a lot of things that went wrong. And I credit the human resources team, who was led by none other than Cynthia Kaiser Murphy, who is our general manager at the San Manuel's owned Palms in Vegas. But she created this atmosphere in the hiring process of people who were driven to want to do things. There were a lot of things that were done wrong, but we all pushed and we all were like, okay, we're all in this together. And we created a leadership team that was strong enough, but also respected our team enough that we were going to help out wherever we can. And I remember one day after 12 hours of work, and I had front desk clerks that had been there for 12 hours. And I was like, I need some people to help me make rollaway beds. We've just found all these rollaway beds and we have 20 requests for them. We need to get them out. Can someone come upstairs and help? And we had 8 people just come, yes, 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 let's go. And we went up, made all these rollaway beds, unboxed it, put the beds down, delivered them to the rooms, and we're done in no time at all. But the fact of the matter is you had people who wanted to do that because that's who they were. And the leaders that were thankful for them that said, thank you so much for helping out. Being a good person is going to be something that not just good about your career to the next level, just life in general.
Yep.
It'll just, I'm very much of that peace and harmony type of thing. I saw a Grateful Dead show. Does not make me, the whole tree hugger thing, but it does just tell you that, hey, being nice is something that there's not enough of. There's too much divisiveness in this world at this day. We've got to work our way out of that. And it starts with everyone who's watching. It starts with the next generation. And that's the way we're going to fix it.
100%. Couldn't agree more. So Kenji, it's been an honor to speak with you today. Any final words before we say goodbye?
I'm so happy that we're able to have this conversation. I feel like that, it's nice to be able to have do a podcast and just have an easy conversation. Like we went through this hour and I was like, oh shoot, we're way past the hour already at this point.
Oh,
but,
it's good.
I think that it comes from the comfort level that you help provide as well. And I hope I help provide that same for you. But it's where we get better at being good people and good leaders. And I know that I have a lot more work to continue to do. I'm never going to be happy until it's perfect. My mom would never be happy unless it was perfect either. She wants me to be better all the time. And I think that that's something I want to make sure that we all do here as well as yourself. And if there's anything that any of you watching or have questions or want to talk about, reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, reach out, send me a note, say you saw the podcast, we'll hook up. But I want to make sure that we're good human beings, but we all can progress together and make this, love to have you here.
Thank you.
A bird hit my window. I don't know if you heard that.
I was wondering what that was. That was so weird.
All right.
Well, thank you, Kenji. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Till next time.
Check out more episodes on nextlevelcasinocareers.com.